for the year. And Subway is joining the fast food value menu wars and bringing back cheap footlongs. It's not $5, but beginning on Monday, the sandwich chain will sell any footlong for $6.99. However, the deal runs for only 2 weeks. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Hillary Barsky, invested in you.
I opened a gold IRA with Noble Gold Investments. There's no better vote for your financial safety than precious metals. So Noble Gold Investments is giving away up to 10 1-ounce silver Trump coins or a 10-ounce silver American flag bar with a qualifying account this month. Just use promo code TRUMP. That's NobleGoldInvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
Get a grip on your finances with People's Bank & Trust's new mobile banking service. You can now manage your accounts, check balances, transfer funds, and pay bills with ease and all from the palm of your hand. Activate your phone today by visiting us online at pbtc.net. People's Bank & Trust. Hometown banking the way it should be. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Isaac Lowenkron.
The NFL has just suspended Arizona Cardinals receiver Zay Jones for the first 5 games of the season for violating the personal conduct policy. Jones was arrested last November on a misdemeanor domestic battery charge. That charge was later dropped. The NFL has also just suspended Los Angeles Rams starting left tackle Alaric Jackson for the first 2 games of the regular season for violating the personal conduct policy. It's unclear how Jackson violated the policy. Chicago Bears defensive back Douglas Coleman is out of the hospital and headed home after being injured in last night's preseason game at Kansas City. Washington Commanders head coach Dan Quinn said that rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels will not play in Sunday's preseason finale against the Patriots. The Seattle Seahawks traded pass rusher Darrell Taylor to the Bears for a 6th-round draft pick.
It's 5:10 in East Central Missouri, and you're on the Newswatch PM edition. Traffic and weather together on the 10s. Starts right now.
East Central Missouri's News Radio KYRO. Depend on it.
News Radio KYRO traffic. There's a jam up as you heading toward Lake St. Louis. You're very slow on I-64 westbound. That delay begins at Winghaven Boulevard around toward I-70. And within those delays, you will find some brief delays on 364 west approaching I-64. Now in St. Peters, the westbound side of I-70, there's bumper-to-bumper traffic from Mid-Rivers Mall Drive to and past Highway 79. Otherwise, after that, you're up to speed toward Highway 61. That's the latest News Radio KYRO traffic. I'm Rick Dixon.
News Radio KYRO weather from the Meyer & Company Real Estate and Auctions Weather Center, online at MeyerListings.com. Broken clouds in Troy. Getting down to 57 overnight tonight. Wednesday's high will be in the lower 80s, scattered clouds likely. Temperatures in the lower 80s forecast on Thursday. Currently in Troy it's 61. In Wentzville it's 59 degrees. Perfect homes, commercial real estate or farm ground? Meyer & Company Real Estate and Auctions, online at MeyerListings.com. I'm Erica Walters.
24-hour towing and recovery in Lincoln, Warren, Pike, or St. Charles County. Call B&B Towing, 636-262-3865. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. B&B will be on the way, 636-262-3865.
Hello there, world. It's Dodd from Morning Java. I have a business, and I would not have anyone else insure my business other than Safe Harbor Insurance in Winfield. No matter what type of insurance it is you need for your business, Dave and Holly can help you to get exactly the coverage you need for your most important investment, your business. They're right here in Winfield. They're brokers, so they have tons of companies that they can pick from to get you the best coverage for whatever you need. 636-668-6296.
The very latest ag news from the Brownfield Network, brought to you this hour by the Wrecking Crew in Troy, Winfield, and Vandalia. Call 636-462-1727.
Soybeans were higher Friday. Corn, cattle, and hogs finished mixed. I'm John Perkins with the Brownfield Market Update. For decades, Stein has represented simply the best in corn genetics, offering more than 50 lines of the highest performing corn featuring a broad range of traits. Stein has yield. Soybeans were higher Friday, oversold and due for a bounce with help from soybean and crude oils. Export demand has improved, with Unknown buying another 120,000 tons of new crop U.S. soybeans ahead of Friday's open. September beans were up 10 3/4 at $9.52. November was 11 1/2 higher at $9.73. September bean meal was down a dime at $3.0630. The other months were firm. September soybean oil was up 103 points at $41.47. Corn was mixed, consolidating, keeping an eye on development weather and waiting for the final numbers from a major private crop tour, which do look mixed. USDA's next round of production estimates is out September 12th. September corn was down 3 3/4 at $3.67 3/4. December was 2 1/2 lower at $3.91. And wheat was down. The spring wheat harvest is moving forward with good yields in some key growing areas. The downturn in global prices was a continued source of pressure. September Chicago was 8 3/4 lower at $5.02 1/4. September Kansas City was down 9 1/4 at $5.20. September Minneapolis wheat was 16 1/2 lower at $5.51 3/4. Live and feeder cattle were mostly lower, getting ready for the USDA's on-feed report, which was out after Friday's close. October live was down 20 at $175.70. December was 32 lower at $175.20. September feeders were up 37 at $238.57. October feeder cattle were 12 higher at $234.37. And hogs were mixed, mostly higher, with pork up at midday ahead of the USDA's cold storage numbers, also out after Friday's close. October was up 92 at $80.55. December lean was 47 higher at $70.75. Megan Grebner has your full look at the cash livestock markets after this brief break.
Lower costs, improve efficiency, increase yields. That's how MFA's NutriTrack program can benefit your farm. NutriTrack Precision Technology helps manage soil nutrients acre by acre, providing the information you need to make data-driven decisions. Grid sampling, zone maps, and variable rate application can put more fertilizer where you need it and less where you don't. It's an investment that can make a big difference through more production and more profit. See your fields in a whole new way with NutriTrack, only from MFA, your whole farm solution.
ADM Regenerations is the industry's leading program for rewarding ag producers for conservation practices on their farms. ADM makes it easy to enroll and participate. There are no long-term commitments, and we pay generously for practices like cover crops, emission scoring, no-till, and nutrient management practices. ADM appreciates all you do to protect your land and legacy, and we believe you should be rewarded for it. To learn more about your state's incentives, visit admregenerations.com.
Cash cattle trade activity was sporadic throughout the week. Deals in the South were marked at $183, $2 below the previous week's weighted averages. Northern dress business was at mostly $293, $5 below the prior week's weighted averages. Box beef closed mixed on light and solid demand for moderate offerings. Choice up $1.35 at $317.34. Select closed $1.57 lower at $300.46. Estimated cattle slaughter was 113,000 head, down 5,000 on the weekend, down more than 8,000 on the year. Cash hogs closed lower with a fairly light negotiated run. Bears and gilts at the National Daily Direct down 260 with a weighted average of 80.76. The Iowa Minnesota had no comparison, but a weighted average of 81.25. The Western Corn Belt had no comparison, but a weighted average of 81.19. Pork values closed higher, up $262 at $99.05, and estimated hog slaughter was 479,000 head, up 15,000 on the week and up about 14,000 on the year. I'm Megan Grebner for Brownfield.
Every hour of every day, Fox News Radio is there with the latest breaking news and information you rely on. This is a Fox News Alert.
I'm Lisa Brady.
I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. With Fox News correspondents around the globe.
At the White House, Trey Yingst in Kyiv.
On Capitol Hill, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
The news that matters most to you. The top headlines, all in one place. America is listening to Fox News Radio.
On East Central Missouri's News Radio, KYRO. Depend on it.
Old Monroe Lumber Company has the really big tools you need to get the job done right. Not only in the retail store, but in the rental area too. Bobcats, excavators, dingoes, and lift equipment, including a 65-foot boom lift, scissor lifts, and more. Need something a little smaller? Old Monroe Lumber Company rents saws, log splitters, jackhammers, water pumps, and dump trailers. Just about anything you need delivered to your job site. Take a look online at omlumber.com.
Now we're going to have a word with Jerry Hankey from Alternative Automotive on Mansion Road in Winfield. Brought up an interesting point about the newer transmissions and how they adapt to driving styles, and that can actually be harder to wear out the fluid inside the transmission quicker.
Your older 4-speed transmissions, the torque converters in them are used much differently. The 4-speeds, when you locked the converter on those, they were locked with full line pressure, and there was supposed to be no slip between the converter. So on the 6-speed and newer transmissions, just mainly for comfort, the manufacturers program these things to slip in between about 20 and 50 RPM the entire time you're driving. Any instance where the engine isn't running just perfect, you won't feel it. It makes it as smooth as possible for the comfort of the driver. At the cost of burning the torque converter or burning the fluid, we actually recommend in between 50 and 75,000 miles. These transmissions just shift more, just much, much harder on the fluid. They wear out the additives in the fluid much faster.
Automotive intelligence from Jerry and Alternative Automotive, located on Mansion Road near Winfield. Stop by and see him today.
And a very pleasant good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Newswatch Late Edition. Very busy news day, and we'll get to that in just a moment. We do have NASCAR coming up at 6, live from the Daytona International Speedway, where this weekend, the big Saturday night race, the Coca-Cola 400, and that's always a good time.
That's right. That's right.
Go fast, turn left, right?
Every single time.
So the big story, and of course we're going to really tear into this coming up after traffic and weather together in just a few seconds, but RFK ending his, suspending his campaign today and throwing a full-throated endorsement behind Donald Trump.
Yes, he did.
The ramifications of this, the impact, we've been kind of doing a little bit of research most of the afternoon, and I'm going to give you our thoughts and see what exactly you think. If you want to give us a call, let your opinion be known, 636-625-NEWS. Once again, 636-625-6397 is how you get a hold of us. And
of course, they can also comment on the Facebook feeds that we've got going right now.
You very much can. Sarge, I have a face for radio.
Yes, you do.
But
so do I.
Yeah, we'll wave hi at the camera.
Hello.
All right.
And welcome back, by the way.
Thank you.
It's good to have you back in the studio.
Yes, I had enough at Jefferson City, and now I'm back home. It's a beautiful afternoon in East Central Missouri. Let's find out how the roadways are doing, live from the Gateway Fiber Studios. Let's check in with Rick Dixon and find out what's going on.
News Radio KYRO traffic. There's a jam up as you're heading toward Lake St. Louis. You're very slow on I-64 westbound. That delay begins at Winghaven Boulevard around toward I-70. And within those delays, you will find some brief delays on 364 west approaching I-64. Now in St. Peters, the westbound side of I-70, there's bumper-to-bumper traffic from Mid-Rivers Mall Drive to and past Highway 79. Otherwise, after that, you're up to speed toward Highway 61. That's the latest News Radio KYRO traffic. I'm Rick Dixon.
News Radio KYRO weather from the Meyer & Company Real Estate and Auctions Weather Center, online at MeyerListings.com. Broken clouds in Troy, getting down to 57 overnight tonight. Wednesday's high will be in the lower 80s, scattered clouds likely. Temperatures in the lower 80s forecast on Thursday. Currently in Troy it's 61. In Wentzville it's 59 degrees. Perfect homes, commercial real estate or farm ground, Meyer & Company Real Estate and Auctions, online at MeyerListings.com. I'm Erica Walters.
The Lincoln County Farmers Market is open the first Saturday of March all the way through the first Saturday of November. Everything from goat's milk soap to homemade chocolate, zucchini cake, jelly, apple butter, honey, live animals, and produce. Breakfast and lunch served by local food trucks. If you've got a green thumb, check out all the plant vendors. The Lincoln County Farmers Market on the Tractor Supply parking lot in Troy. Open until the first weekend in November. On the Tractor Supply parking lot every Saturday from 8 to 1.
5:21 in East Central Missouri. We'll have another traffic and weather update coming up in about 8 minutes or so.
I do have an addition to the weather.
Okay.
Coming Monday and Tuesday, we have got severe heat coming into the region, and it says that it's going to be a high of 96 with a heat index of at least 106. So be prepared for Monday and Tuesday.
Well, back when I was a kid, our grade school didn't have air conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
And, you had the big fans and they had the windows open, but it didn't help. Basically, all it did was move around the hot air. I don't know, is there a school anymore that doesn't have air conditioning?
I haven't seen or heard of any that doesn't.
Yeah, but we had a few, I can recall a few times, especially back in the 70s, when we would actually have school called off because of the heat.
Mm-hmm.
And, sorry about that. I remember this was in Sparta, Illinois. So Sparta Lincoln Grade School is the one that didn't have any air conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then they opened up the new Sparta Primary Center. I got to go to fourth grade only at the new building the year it opened. And then I had to go right back down the street. Now, that place had air conditioning and carpet and all this other stuff.
Wow.
But I could not imagine trying to get kids, especially this day and age, to sit in a classroom and attempt to concentrate when it's 90 degrees.
Oh, it's not happening.
No. Well, I guess it did to a certain degree back then.
Yeah.
But, I mean, today, could you imagine?
Oof, man.
Now, of course, we did walk uphill to school both ways in the snow when it was 90 degrees.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
In
my case, I actually did do that.
You did do that?
Yes.
Most
definitely.
You, sir, are my hero. So big news today, jumping right into it, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the son of the late Bobby Kennedy, who was fallen by Sirhan Sirhan, ran a very courageous campaign for president. Basically had hurdle after hurdle after hurdle. Essentially, the Democrat Party was doing exactly to RFK to a different degree of what they were doing to Donald Trump, trying to challenge his ballot placement, trying to throw him in jail. I don't think they tried to throw RFK in jail.
No.
But so this afternoon, a little bit, 1:15, 1:30, he had his press conference in Arizona. And it was thoughtful. It was insightful. And honestly, one of the best speeches I've heard in a very long time. And he talked about, what he's had to go through, what his campaign workers have had to go through. And he's got a lot of campaign workers, had a lot of support. And I think probably, considering just about all the polls that are out there are controlled either by the Democrats or the Republicans,
right?
They're estimating in most states he had somewhere between 4 and maybe 6 or 8%. I honestly think it was a lot more than that.
Could be.
And who he appealed to, I'm just going to back up a minute, but in the United States, I honestly think where most people lie is somewhere in the middle. They're not ultra-liberal, they're not ultra-conservative, but they're somewhere in the middle. So basically what happens is there's not really a political party that is 100% yours. So what people do is they align themselves either as a liberal or a conservative, and in essence, they marry on to it, and even though they don't agree with 100% of the platform. But there's a lot of people in this country that are either, social liberal, fiscal conservatives, or the opposite, that really have nowhere to go. And I think what Bobby Kennedy did is I think that he appealed to that middle of the road. The other thing that he said in his speech that I personally really related to, I grew up a Democrat, okay? My dad was a Democrat. My grandpa was a Democrat. We, all union members. We were what you call, and I don't even know if this exists anymore, we were called Blue Dog Democrats. Okay, so you were pro-life, you were pro-gun. It was, you were liberal, but you weren't socialist. And that's kind of where the party's going today. Okay, so there is a strategy called hiding in plain sight. Or, even, if you base it on critical thinking, you can call it a red herring. So in essence, I'm doing something and I accuse you of doing it, and you're not.
Right.
But everybody hears it. And if they hear it enough times, they're going to start to believe it.
Yeah.
So,
just like your liberal media when they're accusing Trump of different things.
Exactly. So, and I think what has happened is, RFK was somewhere in the middle. He had some policies that appealed to conservatives. He had some policies that appealed to liberals. But he was in between. I was right with him on his stance on COVID and everything else. And I mean, there's a lot of things that he said that I was like, hey, this is really cool. But it'll never happen, as far as him getting elected as president. I'm not saying I necessarily supported him, but I certainly appreciated his efforts and his stance. But what happened to him, Sarge, they turned his family against him.
Yeah.
They portrayed him as a lunatic. And he's not. Okay, he's a guy that his family has suffered through the years. His father was shot and killed. His uncle was shot and killed. Why?
No.
You can speculate on that all day long. But, and I think the Democratic Party liked the Kennedys at one point, but now they kind of saw it as a little bit of a liability. Teddy's hijinks, his uncle, Jack Kennedy, of course, and his affiliation with some not so savory characters as far as organized crime. And then the first thing he does when he gets elected is he appoints his brother as Attorney General, and then he, in turn, attacks the mafia.
Right.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry, that doesn't exist.
Oh, no.
The mob doesn't exist.
That's right.
I'm sorry. Sorry. So anyway, they're not perfect people.
Right.
But they were patriots in my mind, and they didn't shy away from debates, just like he said. Open exchanges of political ideas. And we don't have any of that.
No.
Now, you tell me that it just popped up as breaking news that Kamala or whatever has backed out of the debate with Trump?
On September the 4th, yeah.
Is that the Fox debate or the ABC?
Yes, that's the Fox one.
Yeah, she wouldn't dare go on there.
Yeah.
But, so, let's review in the next 60 seconds where we're at. We have a Democratic candidate running for president who has never received one primary vote.
That's true.
Has never gotten one primary delegate. We basically canceled the primary elections this year on the Democratic side to anoint Joe Biden. Joe Biden goes on the debate and exposes the fact that he's a bumbling old fool and he can't put two words together.
Well, yeah.
And it's like, oh my God. So then she is anointed. She's not elected, she's anointed. And so they bring in a vice presidential candidate, which they obviously did not vet. They passed by somebody who really probably could have helped in Shapiro. Just because what? He's Jewish?
It sure seems that way, doesn't it?
Well, I think you'd have a hard time convincing the average person that that's not why.
Yeah.
We got a lot more to talk about on the show today, but right now, let's head back out to the roadways. Rick Dixon has got an update on traffic.
News Radio KYRO traffic. There's a jam up as you're heading toward Lake St. Louis. You're very slow on I-64 westbound. That delay begins at Winghaven Boulevard around toward I-70. And within those delays, you will find some brief delays on 364 west approaching I-64. Now in St. Peters, the westbound side of I-70, there's bumper-to-bumper traffic from Mid-Rivers Mall Drive to and past Highway 79. Otherwise, after that, you're up to speed toward Highway 61. That's the latest News Radio KYRO traffic. I'm Rick Dixon.
News Radio KYRO weather from the Meyer & Company Real Estate and Auctions Weather Center, online at MeyerListings.com. Broken clouds in Troy. Getting down to 57 overnight tonight. Wednesday's high will be in the lower 80s, scattered clouds likely. Temperatures in the lower 80s forecast on Thursday. Currently in Troy it's 61. In Wentzville it's 59 degrees. Perfect homes, commercial real estate or farm ground? Meyer & Company Real Estate and Auctions, online at MeyerListings.com. I'm Erica Walters.
News. I'm John Saucier with some big news off the campaign trail. As independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. addresses voters in Phoenix, saying he suspended his 2024 presidential campaign and is endorsing former President Trump.
President Trump says that he will reopen negotiations with President Putin and end the war overnight as soon as he becomes president. This alone would justify my support for his campaign.
Well, Kennedy Jr. says in an honest system, he believes he would have won the White House. He blamed the DNC and some major news networks for not giving him a fair shot. Campaigning in Las Vegas at a restaurant, former President Trump reacted to that news.
We just had a very nice endorsement from RFK Jr., Bobby.
The former president will then head to Arizona for another campaign appearance later today. America's listening to Fox News.
Biden is dead set to get as much done as possible before leaving office. That should frighten every American. Why? Because nearly $1 trillion of infrastructure and pandemic funds have yet to be spent. When Biden pushes these funds out, we could see another prolonged inflation surge, just like during COVID. And I'm sure you remember the terrible effects that high prices had on most Americans. Hi, Donald Trump Jr. here, letting you know that a surge in prices can be beaten. A gold IRA from Birch Gold Group is the ultimate inflation hedge in uncertain times. To see how to protect your IRA or 401k, get your free info kit on gold by texting the word SECURE to 989898. Birch Gold makes it seamless to roll over your retirement account while preserving your tax advantage status. Don't wait for Biden's spending spree to tank the dollar further. Protect your financial future now. Text SECURE to the number 989898 for your free info kit from Birch Gold.
Paid for by Birch Gold Group.
Are you ready to get in the game with the Kansas City Chiefs Radio Network? You can win a VIP game day experience, including tickets, parking, and a visit to the Chiefs radio booth to watch Mitch Holthus in action. All thanks to Shelter Insurance. Participating Shelter agents can register you in the drawing. So visit shelterinsurance.com/getinthegame to find out how you can sign up.
Contact Shelter Agent Jeff Dunn in Wentzville or Chris Hansel in Overland for your chance to get in the game.
I am basking in the glow of the results of the preseason football game last night.
I bet you are.
I got some text and some Facebook messages and stuff like that, and they're like, "Hey, John, are you watching the DNC?" I'm like, "Hell no, I'm not watching the damn DNC. The Bears and the Chiefs are playing. I don't care if it's preseason.
I'm watching something more important,
yes.
by golly."
Well, I don't
You've
care
got bragging rights over me until the next time that we meet.
No, I'm going to basically convert you into a Bears fan. Is what I'm doing. Why are you a Kansas City fan anyway?
Because I have got, I was born in Kansas City, number one.
All right.
And then we moved here to the St. Louis side. And then around about 16, moved back there to live with my grandmother and help her and all that kind of stuff.
All right.
So I'm a back and forth kind of guy.
You've convinced me. But can I turn you at least into a part-time Bears fan?
If that's possible, because I don't have a national football league or a national
NFC
team.
You don't have an NFC
team.
Yeah. Well, coolio then. I will get you your a part-time membership card. So you have to swear your allegiance to the principles of Ditka and Hallis Hall.
Okay.
And Bill Swirsky. Chicago Bears fan number one. Bill Swirsky and Dick Bursky.
It's interesting. Okay.
How many heart attacks is that, Bob? Oh, that's a baker's dozen. No, we had fun. We went. A couple of guys. It was in the class with me. We went to a place called Patty's, which is one of my favorite Irish restaurants in the United States. It's in Jefferson City, Missouri.
Very cool. Very cool.
So I had, of course, my bangers and mash, which was absolutely delicificationable. I just made up a word.
That's a beautiful word.
Okay.
I like it.
And so then, there were quite a few Bears fans in there, believe it or not.
Well, that's cool.
And,
that's cool.
It was a good time. I stayed till halftime, and then didn't want to hang out too late. We had class the next day. I had to teach.
Sure.
And so went back to the hotel, watched the rest in my hotel room. And, it was just an onslaught.
Yeah, it was. Second half was a big-time onslaught.
And the thing of it is, too, so the Bears played their second string for one series and then basically their third string for the rest of the game. The Chiefs actually had some starters in on defense.
Yeah.
Not all of them. But I was very impressed. The thing, when you talk about the Bears, they got a lot of depth, especially on defense. And, it's going to be a hard cut down on that roster because they've got a lot of guys. And Bajan, the backup quarterback, I think what's going to happen, because Ripien, who's the third quarterback, he's a very credible backup. I think they're going to move him. And the natural place for him, because they need the one thing they need on defense is they need an edge rusher. Okay? So the common sense team that really, really, really needs a quarterback this year would be Minnesota. But Minnesota's in the division with them.
Right.
And there's no way they're going to send Bajan.
You wouldn't think so.
I wouldn't think so. Because that could come back to haunt them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, man, I mean, maybe not drinking the Kool-Aid yet, but I've got the cup on the table and getting ready to pour the ice in. But, man, Chiefs are going to be just fine.
Oh, yeah. We're still going to three-peat.
No starters in last night.
Yeah, not really.
I wonder if you're Kadarius Toney, if it's a little bit humiliating to be played on the second and third string right now.
No, I wouldn't say so. He needs to get the reps in. I mean, just like all the rest of them. If it wasn't for the injury to Hollywood Brown, I think Hollywood would have been in there a little bit more so. But
that's
with
fair.
that happening, Tony's going to get those reps that I think Brown would have.
And Harrison Butker missed a field goal last
Yes, he did.
night.
Yeah,
that was probably the most remarkable thing that happened for the Chiefs.
Well, let's be honest about it. It was a 59-yard field goal, though, too.
Oh, it's a chip shot for him. I don't want to hear any of that noise.
Something else about RFK before I lose my train of thought and we move on to other
that train
things.
left the station a long time ago, Sarge.
The Democrats are saying that he had marginal support at best, right? And what you were saying before, that 4 to 6 to 8%, of support that he has. Well, you've got to remember that the swing states, and I'm talking Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and really you can even throw Georgia in there right now too. They're practically neck and neck.
Yeah.
So even if you were to throw, let's say 2/3 of RFK's and over to Trump, he's going to win those states if it's like that.
Well, I want to break down the battleground states because that's what really matters at this point. And we've got about a minute to our next traffic and weather update here on Newswatch Late Edition, broadcasting live from the spacious and palatial Gateway Fiber Studios.
That's right.
In good old Lincoln County, Missouri. But basically where I'm going with that is this is going to come down to math. And what we'll break down after the break is the fact that if those polls are anywhere near correct, in some of those battleground states like Pennsylvania, Virginia, who's very independent-minded, okay, I think you got to look back to Ross Perot. What states did Ross Perot do the best in as far as being an independent candidate? And I know that was decades ago, but I think it has some relevance. But then again, Ross Perot was loved by the media. He was their darling. So they did the statistics. Other than Fox News, RFK had one interview on a major network.
Yeah.
All right, so it is 40 minutes after the hour. Let's check out the roadways. Here's Rick.
News Radio KYRO traffic. There's a jam up as you're heading toward Lake St. Louis. You're very slow on I-64 westbound. That delay begins at Winghaven Boulevard around toward I-70. And within those delays, you will find some brief delays on 364 west approaching I-64. Now in St. Peters, the westbound side of I-70, there's bumper-to-bumper traffic from Mid-Rivers Mall Drive to and past Highway 79. Otherwise, after that, you're up to speed toward Highway 61. That's the latest News Radio KYRO traffic. I'm Rick Dixon.
News Radio KYRO weather from the Meyer & Company Real Estate and Auctions Weather Center, online at MeyerListings.com. Broken clouds in Troy, getting down to 57 overnight tonight. Wednesday's high will be in the lower 80s, scattered clouds likely. Temperatures in the lower 80s forecast on Thursday. Currently in Troy it's 61. In Wentzville it's 59 degrees. Perfect homes, commercial real estate or farm ground, Meyer & Company Real Estate and Auctions, online at MeyerListings.com. I'm Erica Walters.
Do your trucks, tractors, or heavy equipment need repairs? Hello, I'm Aaron Lee with Advanced Machine Repair in Moscow Mills. We work on heavy equipment, agricultural equipment, skid loaders, dump trucks, road tractors, and trailers. We offer 24-hour mobile emergency roadside service. From general maintenance to heavy-duty repairs, we have you covered. For immediate service or to schedule your next repair, Just visit advancedmachinerepairllc.com or check us out on Facebook.
Okay, so Fox News just had a graphic up 41 minutes after the hour of 5 o'clock. You're on the Newswatch Late Edition. So their graphic showed the swing states. And I'm not going to regurgitate every one of them, but Kennedy's approval numbers, or Kennedy's vote estimates based on polls, ranging anywhere from the high 4s to the high 6s. Okay. So, now granted, all those polls, okay, even Trafalgar and all the, Times polls and the CNN polls and the Fox polls, they're all slanted polls.
Sure.
Now, there are some independent polls out there that are fairly accurate, okay? But what do we know? We know, number one, that Trump has always underperformed in polls. Okay, there's no question about that. So, essentially right now, through all the swing states, it's doggone near 50-50 between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump for president. Now, some of the polls show... There's no polls that show her in the lead. There are some polls that give him a 1 or 2% edge in those swing states. But here's the interesting thing. Let's just say across the board in the swing states, Kennedy's support was 5%. That's the average of all those swing states. You parlay that into the general election in November. All of a sudden, his 5 points could parlay into 1 or 2 points for Trump, since that's who he's throwing his support. And I don't think, really, we can certainly not ignore, or, the historical context of this.
Yeah.
I mean, going back, a century, the Kennedy family has been basically the Colonel Sanders of the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Okay. Loved by some, hated by some, but generally respected at least. But the idea that a Kennedy has endorsed a Republican under any circumstances,
it's surprising.
It's shocking. But given the current situation, and basically, and I think most will agree with this, even people that are staunchly on the left, the Democratic Party did that man dirty.
Oh yeah.
And, I mean,
definitely.
They did him very dirty.
Yeah.
Same as they did with Bernie Sanders a couple of cycles ago. Okay.
Well, it really should have been Bernie Sanders and not Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
To going up against Trump the first time.
But, I mean, the level of almost just genuine hypocrisy. Okay. And I'm speaking as somebody who for years was a card-carrying Democrat, because I was. Okay. The hypocrisy that is embedded in the idea that to save democracy, without an election, without a single delegate saying, okay, I support Kamala Harris, she is anointed. She has not given any meat on the bones as far as policy.
No.
This financial policy that she's giving is socialism. Price fixing? Okay.
That's crazy.
This is gaslighting. Do you know what food manufacturers, and I came from a family of people that we had dairy farms. Okay, there was so little margin in milk. Okay, there was so little margin in commodities. Okay, you get these food manufacturing companies that their profit margins generally are about 1 to 2%.
Yeah.
You tell me where the gouging comes in. The bottom line is high prices in this country are for one reason and one reason only, because the extremely high cost of transportation.
Yep.
Because there is a concerted effort to shut down fossil fuels in the United States. This whole EV thing. Even Elon Musk will be the first one to say, we're going to be using petroleum for transportation for the next 50 years.
Yeah.
You and I will not live to see it not be there.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay. So, I mean, this is just ridiculous. This is bordering on lunacy.
It is.
That she is following Biden's playbook of staying in the basement, not giving any interviews, not giving substance, Just the conjecture that is being given forth as far as any kind of economic policy to fix our issues. The story that's getting underplayed right now is the fact that the correction numbers came out in the job figures and showed that they were manipulated up about 800,000.
Yes.
And that's not getting any coverage. That's like Watergate.
Yeah, you're right.
See, but they wait till after the convention to do that, or the last night of the convention, and it's swallowed up in the news cycle.
Yes. Well,
Okay.
that's them doing that, manipulating the situation. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so, where are we at?
Crazy time.
The lies, they ran a graphic. It was fact-checking on Kamala's closing speech at the convention. She mentioned, or Donald Trump's name was mentioned 146 times in one night.
Yep.
You know how many times Joe Biden or Kamala Harris's name was mentioned in the entire Republican convention? Twice.
Yeah. I was going to say it's a very, very low number.
While they were pounding home on economic policy, the immigration crisis, education, all these other issues that impact Mr. and Mrs. America and all the ships at sea, we're saying Orange Man bad and J.D. Vance is just weird. I'm trying to figure out what exactly is weird about J.D. Vance, and I'm really not trying to get on one political side or the other. It's just I got to call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
This entire week for the DNC, and I watched both the conventions. I try to. I didn't watch last night, granted, because my beloved Bears were playing your beloved Chiefs.
That's right.
Okay. But just the contrived nonsense. And I'm not saying there wasn't nonsense in the Republican convention, too.
Yeah.
I really thought it was cool that Hulk Hogan came out.
It was different. It was something different for sure.
Yeah.
But also with her not giving interviews and that sort of thing, your other side of the liberal media, let's just call it what it is, the liberal media doesn't call her out on that either. And I can't remember her name. She was doing an interview with J.D. Vance earlier this week, and J.D. Vance brought that issue up, and she was like, well, we've tried to reach out to her to get one. Well, that doesn't make anything different at all. She's still not doing it. So, and here you're trying to lambaste J.D. Vance. There's no issue. There's no reason for that.
Now, you'll ask the question, okay, how does this impact us here in Lincoln, St. Charles, Pike, and Warren counties? Go to the grocery store.
Yep.
Go get gas. Go try to buy anything. Pet food.
Yep.
Pet food is like tripled in price.
That's right.
My God, man.
Yeah.
Forget about Wall Street. Forget about inflated job numbers. Okay, all that nonsense. You don't have to go but about 3 blocks up the street from this radio station to see what the hell the problem is.
That's right.
Everything's just too damned expensive. And somebody's got to fix it. All right, it's 50 minutes after the hour of 5 o'clock. Let's get another check of the road.
News Radio KYRO traffic. There's a jam up as you're heading toward Lake St. Louis. You're very slow on I-64 westbound. That delay begins at Winghaven Boulevard around toward I-70. And within those delays, you will find some brief delays on 364 west approaching I-64. Now in St. Peters, the westbound side of I-70, there's bumper-to-bumper traffic from Mid-Rivers Mall Drive to and past Highway 79. Otherwise, after that, you're up to speed toward Highway 61. That's the latest News Radio KYRO traffic. I'm Rick Dixon.
News Radio KYRO weather from the Meyer & Company Real Estate and Auctions Weather Center, online at MeyerListings.com. Broken clouds in Troy, getting down to 57 overnight tonight. Wednesday's high will be in the lower 80s, scattered clouds likely. Temperatures in the lower 80s forecast on Thursday. Currently in Troy it's 61. In Wentzville it's 59 degrees. Perfect homes, commercial real estate or farm ground, Meyer & Company Real Estate and Auctions, online at MeyerListings.com. I'm Erica Walters.
You know, people keep talking about how much their homeowner's insurance keeps going up and how the prices are just unbearable in these high times. Well, let me tell you what I did. I got a hold of Dave and Holly over at Safe Harbor Insurance, and they were able to save me a ton of money on my home insurance. And it's not because I cut cost, it's because they're brokers. They made it happen for me, and they saved me a ton of money. Check them out at Safe Harbor Insurance. Give them a call at 636-668-6296 and see how much money Dave and Holly can save you.
51 minutes after the hour of 5 o'clock, you're on Newswatch Late Edition. He's Sarge, I'm Burgundy, broadcasting from the palatious Gateway Fiber Studios in beautiful Winfield, Missouri.
Yeah.
Here we is.
Yeah, so something that you were saying before, it's a very strong point that a lot of people aren't getting and realizing, is when she's talking about, doing those price cutting and everything on food and
price control.
Price control. Price control. But not saying anything about transportation prices and trying to bring those down. Well, like you said before, there's no profit margin whatsoever already for food companies.
Yeah.
So that means then if you go to control prices and you're not controlling anything with the transportation wise, well, then those companies are going to start losing money, which means people are going to start losing their jobs, and we're even in a worse pickle than when we started.
Here's the truth, and this is the 800-pound gorilla in the room. Okay, we're talking about governmental spending habits. Okay? Now, stay with me on this. We are able to be the philanthropic country that we are and do things like help the Ukraine, help the Ugandans, help anybody that needs help because of heritage wealth in this country. How did we get there? Because we had entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
We had entrepreneurs that were willing to take a risk to grow a business. Now, the numbers today, what is the failure rate of new businesses in this country? Like 50%?
Something like that.
In the first
higher,
couple of years? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But the bottom line is, how did we get that money built up? We got that money built up because people were willing to go on a basis of risk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and there's risk in anything you do.
Yep, for sure.
I mean, you wake up in the morning. There's risk in walking to the bathroom that you might slip on a cat toy.
Sure.
And that will be my ending, by the way. My obituary will read, here lies John. He tripped on a cat toy, hit his head on the table, and he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, more film at 11. But no, what I'm saying is the reason we're able to do all this stuff is that we were, over the past 100 years, able to build up a mountain of money.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how did that mountain of money get there? Just didn't appear.
No, it did not.
And it didn't happen because of high taxes. It's because this country was an economic machine.
Mm-hmm.
And we built big things. We were the world leader in technology. We did all these fantastic things that the entire world benefited off of, and we made a hell of a lot of money doing it.
That's right.
And that was because of the private sector.
Mm-hmm.
Not because of the government. The government doesn't make any money.
You're not wrong.
The government has money because they take it from you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some of those are justified. I'm not, I'm anti-tax as anybody else is. And that's like when Eigel was doing the whole thing in Missouri of saying, we're going to do away with the personal property tax. Well, that was gaslighting. Okay, he never had the capability to do that without a constitutional change in Missouri.
Right.
And I think the votes reflected that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but enough on that. But where you come back to, I know that there has to be taxes to support infrastructure, public safety, national defense, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Without it all falls apart.
It does. Okay, and I'm right there with that. But the tax and spend philosophy of how to do business as a country,
mm-hmm.
You can only do that for so long. Yeah. Eventually what happens is the nation's ATM card is going to be declined. Okay, but now, what do they do? Well, we went off the gold standard about 100 years ago. We went off the silver standard about 80 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So when we need more money as the United States, what do? We just print more.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not stating anything that's wrong.
So
I checked that.
What we have to do is do a reset. We have to get to the point where we have common sense a common sense approach to government, laissez-faire, which if you studied civics in high school, you know what that is. It means government hands-off business.
Yep.
We have been successful in this nation since 17 whatever because of a philosophy of laissez-faire. Government hands-off business. We're losing sight of that. Now we're wanting to regulate the heck out of everything.
Yeah.
That's not going to work. Ask Venezuela how that worked out. Now, prior to the change in regime in Venezuela, it was a model of capitalism.
Yeah.
It was the most wealthy country in Central America. What happened? They started doing socialistic things. Okay, so one of the first things was price fixing. Okay, or price control by the government. You know what happens when you do that?
What happened? What we were talking about a few moments ago.
Right. Basically, you create a black market.
Yep.
It's like a first cousin to what this country did when they outlawed booze in the early 19th century. Okay, you created a black market. You created a criminal underworld.
Yes, you did.
That is going to benefit from that because people's appetite for things and stuff doesn't just stop.
Yeah. This is true.
And we operate on a basis in this country of free trade. And part of free trade is competition. Okay? You're eliminating that from the agenda if you do this price controlling. And I just pray to God that no matter what happens in November, that does not happen.
I got that feeling though that if Harris somehow pulls it off and gets into the White House as the president, she's going to day one try and start implementing things towards that.
Well, at this point, I mean, looking realistically at the election and the September surprise and the October oopsie or whatever you want to call it hasn't dropped its second shoe yet. I think at this point, looking at this thing, and when eventually Kamala Harris is going to have to start giving interviews, she's going to have to stop speaking just strictly with a teleprompter. When that happens, and it will have to happen at some point, I can't imagine, and I'll give her strategy people credit for keeping that, keeping the country in the dark as far as that is concerned. It's been effective. It worked for Joe Biden, didn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it did.
Unless there is massive cheating going on. I think that this election in November is Donald Trump's to lose.
Yeah.
And the only way he's not going to get elected is his own doing.
No, and that's the thing. He needs to not go on all these different rants and raves.
Stick
like
with
he
the
did
issues.
before. Stick to the issues.
He'll win hands down on the issues. He will win hands down on the issues. Even people that don't like him. I wouldn't want him as a neighbor, but there's a lot of people that will hold their nose and vote for Donald Trump just because they like the policies. And we sure the hell can't keep going down the road we're going down.
That's right.
Coming up next, we are going to send it to Daytona, Florida.
Yeah.
For NASCAR coverage tonight from the Daytona International Speedway. Go fast, turn left. He's Sarge. I'm Burgundy. We hope you have a great weekend. And it is Friday.
Yes, it is.
So spend some time with your family, hug your puppies, and we will see you back here on Monday night at 5 o'clock. See ya.
See ya.
Live from the Gateway Fiber Studios, online at gatewayfiber.com. News Radio 105.3, 1280 KYRO Troy. It's 6 o'clock in the Heartland.
Hi, I'm Chandler Smith.
Crossed the line, and Chandler Smith has scored the win.
The following is a presentation of the Motor Racing Network. The